Hi guys, Kar Yong here, and welcome to this week Q&A session. The idea is really to use this opportunity for you to clarify, or you like to find out a little bit more about anything with regards to like the financial market. Okay, this is where I want to provide you an avenue to ask your questions, anything that you have, and for me to actually help you and giving you maybe different perspective and insight, right? Okay, so over here we do have someone asking like, how do I start analyzing a chart? Okay, now that's a very good question, because of course if today you're very new, right, this is one of the questions that you might be also facing, or I would say challenge, in terms of like, okay, so you open up a chart, right? How do you start? Where do you start? Okay, so today I'm gonna use an example here on the screen. Okay, this is on New Zealand dollar. Okay, and over here, of course, there's a much deeper understanding to analyzing a chart, but I'm gonna just address it based on where to start. Okay, because again, it really depends on your strategy, the specific details of your trade plan as well. Okay, but from a very general perspective here, one important concept that you need to have is you need to adopt kind of like a multi-time frame perspective, because if today, okay, you are only looking at one scale, you might be missing out on certain information. Okay, so for me, how I do that is I focus on minimum 2 time frame. Okay, and for me that's the daily and the 4-hour time frame. And over here, right, this is where the daily chart is. Okay, I usually like to start on the right, okay, and then I move to the left. Okay, a lot of people start their analysis maybe on the left hand side of the chart, and then they start to look to the right. Okay, to me, I go the opposite. Alright, I like to see what is price doing now, okay, and moving back into history, how has it been developing, okay, how it has arrived to where it is today. Okay, that to me is much more effective, because all I need to have the most recent information, and I'm able to do my analysis. Okay, so over here, a very quick one using this as case study on New Zealand dollar. Okay, so I actually start off with daily, and I like to print out and identify on the chart, right, where is some of the key levels that I can identify, right? So you can see over here, this is the recent obvious high. Okay, and of course over here, this is also the low that is pretty obvious to me. Okay, and I start to use some tools to draw, okay, in terms of like, okay, this is a pattern that I recognize. Okay, again, the process here might be slightly different depending on strategy. Okay, so I recognize this process pattern over here. I also recognize this pattern over here. Okay, and that's basically what I do. Okay, that's how I start. And then I go down to a lower time frame, and then I'll start to see, okay, what other patterns that I can identify, right? So over here is very clear. I'm able to see this is a pattern that I'm very familiar with. Okay, and at the same time, I can also see that this is a pattern that I'm familiar with, okay, on a much lower scale. Okay, so with all this, that's where I start off with my analysis, and then knowing that, okay, with all this pattern, I pick a directional bias. I know I can establish a very clear direction in terms I want to focus on. With the direction in place, with the probability in place, how am I going to execute this trade, right? Is it going to be a sell stop? Is it going to be a sell limit? Is it going to be buy stop or a buy limit, right? So that's the general process, okay, in terms of or the general steps in terms of how I start to analyze a chart, right, from the higher time frame to the lower time frame, and spotting the patterns that I can recognize. Okay, so that's the first question. The other question that I received over here is how to manage an ongoing trade. Okay, now again, this question is pretty general, but there's no right question over here. There's no right answer over here. Okay, you need to know that how to manage it. It all boils down to what's your plan. Okay, so you probably needs to go back to your drawing board and write this into your plan as is, okay? So you want to plan out, okay, so if your trade is winning, what are you going to do? If your trade is losing, what you're going to do, right? I assume that you guys have a stop loss in place, right? So if you're losing but the trade haven't hit your stop loss, okay, what are some of the ways you can manage it? Okay, there's no right answer. I want you to know that, okay? But for me, you know, usually if it's a losing trade, I know that there's a stop loss to protect me, okay? And of course, if I look at the chart and you know, it tells me that the probability of it hitting a stop loss is like almost 90%. I would also choose to exit the trade before it even touch my stop loss, right? I might cut it smaller, I might exit it at break even. Okay, these are the ways that I can do it. And of course, if I'm winning, okay, then what I'll do is I already have a take profit in place. Then I'll also be managing my stop loss to protect my take profit, my profits, right? That the trade's making. Okay, so again, these are general framework, right? I do not want you to just kind of like duplicate exactly, you know, in terms of what other traders are doing, because we have different, you know, psyche, we have different emotions, we have different psychology, we are made up differently. Okay, that is what works for others might not work for you. Okay, so you want to actually find out what's the best way for you to manage your running trade. Okay, another question I'd like to talk about in this episode over here is the question is how to cope with emotions when you're looking at a trade running in losses. Okay, now this is in fact I would say a very important question, and I hope that through this Q&A session over here, this episode over here, you'll be able to really take this lesson, okay, and implement it. Now, the first thought that came to me when you asked that question is, in terms of, I would say, like, you're probably not well equipped with the knowledge of risk management, okay, and that affects your psychology, okay. So the idea here is, as a trader, right, when you put real money at risk, definitely you feel emotional, okay. But the part here is that emotions of yours gonna affect your daily life or even affect your decision-making process for the trade? Okay. If that trade is affecting you emotionally, you're risking too much. Okay, so the idea is this, right? Just imagine that if today, you know, you drop $1. Okay, so if let's say you're in Malaysia, you drop a ringgit, okay, and you can't find it. Okay, you basically drop that dollar into the drain and it's gone. Okay, it's gone. Would you be like, will your entire day be ruined because, you know, you drop that dollar, that 1 ringgit into the drain? Okay, likely not, right? You'll be like, oh, okay, you know, bad luck. And then what happened? You continue with your daily activities, right? You're not gonna let that $1 or that 1 ringgit gonna affect you. Okay, so I want you to put that perspective into trading. Okay, so if today, you know, you drop $100, or let's say you drop 100 ringgit into a drain, definitely you feel very bad about it. Okay, so first thing here is that, you know, how big that money is relative. Okay, this is again back to the relationship between you and your money. Okay, so again, it's not that 1 ringgit means nothing to me or to you. Okay, but it's small enough to majority of us that relatively that 1 ringgit is gonna affect your daily lifestyle. Okay, so when you approach trading, when you're putting your money at risk for every trade that you take, you want to approach it from that perspective. So that one trade, the amount, the maximum risk that you put in for that one trade should be almost equivalent in terms of that 1 ringgit, okay, or that $1, which means that if that trade loses, okay, and you cut loss, you lost that trade, it shouldn't affect you at all. Okay, so if it does, it means that again you risk too much. You need to reduce your lot size. You need to manage your relationship with risk, with money again. Okay, so that's how I would say you need to get started with managing your emotion. Okay, you need to neutralize your relationship with money. Okay, again, it takes time. It's a process. It's not an overnight thing. Okay, but this is very important because if today you can't manage your psychology, you can't manage your emotions, and you let them kind of like interfere into your decision-making process, you're gonna find your whole journey of trading and investing to be a struggle, to be very challenging. Okay, and if you don't solve that as quick as you can, or you are not aware of that, pulling you back, stopping you from achieving things, eventually you give up. Okay, so I hope this little insights here of how you can view the relationship between you and your trade, you and your money, you and risk, okay, is able to help you manage your emotions better. Again, as I always say, right, the first step towards solving something is, number one, the awareness to it. Okay, so I hope this helps you to become aware. Okay, again, there are no one answer to, or no one solution to how to manage. Okay, all of us are different, right? It's again humans. Okay, we are all humans. So when you're aware of it, you're actually one step closer to finding out what are the effective solutions to help yourself. Okay, and from there, naturally, the next step here is you will be able to find the answer that you're seeking out for. Hope this episode here is able to help you guys and give you some different perspective, okay, into what trading is, okay, and of course giving you some tips on how to help you in your own trading journey as well. Okay, so I really appreciate if you guys have any other questions, right? Feel free to comment in this video here, or you can send me a message on Facebook and Instagram. I'll be able to collate your message and put them into this kind of weekly Q&A podcast or episode session, so that I'll be able to reach out to more people and help more people along this journey as well. We'll see you in the next episode, and all the best to your trading journey.